Welcome to Excel, Module 4, Part 6. In this segment, we will be looking at a combination chart. A combination chart is any time you are combining two different chart types on the same chart. So with this particular sales projection chart, we are going to be combining a line chart and a clustered column. So we are going to go ahead and log into our Backspace workbook again. You should be on the projected cash flow worksheet. That is where our data is located for this particular chart. So you want to make sure you choose that chart if you're not already there, or excuse me, that worksheet if you're not already there. Now again, we are going to be using two non-adjacent ranges. So you need to make sure that you select the entire range in one sweep before you hit the Control key, and then again do the second range in one sweep. Otherwise, when we choose recommended charts, it will not work for you the way it does on the screen. So the first range of data that we're going to choose is cell A4, and it's going to go through K5. So we need to select rows 4 and 5, columns A through K, and you need to get those in one sweep before you release the mouse. Then release the mouse and scroll down till you find row 26 for the net income. At this point, you're going to hold the Control key down and make sure you select rows A through K of row 26 in one sweep, and then release the mouse and the Control key. Now that you have your data selected, we're going to go to the Insert tab, and we're going to choose Recommended Charts. This time, you're going to choose All Charts. Then you're going to go all the way to the bottom, and you're going to choose Combo. Once you get to this screen, you're going to choose this last option that says Custom Combination. This allows us to take each series of data and determine the chart type that we would like to use. So for our packs, we are going to choose a chart type of line. Now, one thing to be aware of when you're working with combination charts, if the amounts are vastly different, then you need to use a secondary access. If you look up here right now, in our packs produced and sold, because we're comparing quantities to dollars of sales or net income, it stays relatively flat and you can't tell that it's changing. But if we include a secondary access, you can now see that it puts the quantities over here and it creates an access for that second line, which then shows the difference. Now the last thing we want to do is we want to change the net income to being a clustered column. So we'll check this first box. Excuse me. You're going to see that it's building the chart here and showing you what it's going to look like. So this should help you as you're selecting your options. Again, we need this secondary line because we're dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars, but only thousands of packs. And so that large difference in dollar amounts or quantities versus dollar amounts requires that second access to see movement. So we're going to say okay and let it build that chart. Now we want to change it to a style of style 8, and again we could use the style button here, or we could use the gallery and choose option 8 in the gallery. The next thing we want to do is we want to move the chart to our financial summary worksheet. So again, you could use the cut and paste, or you could use the move chart button. We're going to move it to an object in financial summary. And then we want to place it in cells A26 through C38. When you see the cross with the arrows and hold down the mouse and start moving your mouse, you are moving the object. So again, the cross with the arrows tells you you're moving it. We want it to start in A26. Once we have it placed where it needs to start, we can use the resizing handles on either of the borders or on the corners, and we want to change it so that it will end in C38. Okay, now that we have it placed where we want it, we're going to start doing some of the formatting. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to change the chart title. We want to call this Sales Projection. So you're going to click on the chart title, and with it highlighted, start typing. Notice you will not see it filling in the chart title, but you do see it up on the formula bar. When you hit enter, it will update the chart title. So it's going to say Sales Projections. It should be plural, so we'll add the S on the end of that. All right, now we want to actually format the text. So we're going to go back to our Home tab. We're going to remove the bold, change it to Calibri Light, and then we want to change the color to accent green accent 6, darker 25%. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this legend from the bottom. So on my Elements button, it does not want to open for me. There we go. We are going to uncheck the box that says Legend. The next thing we want to do is we want to add major vertical grid lines. So with clicking the arrow next to grid lines, I'm going to check the box next to major vertical grid lines. The next thing we want to do is we want to make it look like this one next to it. So we want the chart area to be white and the plot area to be the green color. So click on the plot area. Make sure you click on a blank space within that area, not one of the grid lines or a data point, but a blank space. And then we're going to go over to the Chart Tools format. You can always make sure you have the correct things selected by looking up here. It shows us in the ribbon the current selection. I want to change the fill on that selection to a color of white. Next, I'm going to click on the chart area. So if you, again, click on a blank spot, confirm that your current selection says chart area, then you can change the shape fill to accent, green accent 6, lighter 60%. Now the next thing we want to do, or we want to add some labels to explain what these quantities are and these dollars are. So we are going to add axis titles. Now this first title over here, our vertical title on the left hand side, is net income. So you're going to click on the title, type net income. Again, you will not see it except in the formula bar until you hit enter. Before we change the other titles, what we're going to do is we're going to format this access information so that it matches the coloring on the chart itself. So since the net income are the bars and they're orange, we want to change the axis title color as well as the axis values color to match that. So we're going to go to the Home tab, and you're going to choose the font color of orange accent 2, darker 25%. Next, we're going to click on the dollar amounts and change it to the same color. All right, now we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with our right axis. The title, we're going to click on it and begin typing. It's going to say packs sold. Again, you will see what you're typing in the formula bar. It will not populate into the chart until you hit enter. And now we're going to change the color of that to be blue accent 1, darker 25%. And again, we want to make sure that the numbers match that same color. So you're going to click on one of the numbers and change the color. Now the last thing we want to do is get rid of our horizontal axis title. We don't need that. So you're going to click on that title and hit the delete key. The last thing we want to do is we want to change these numbers here in our packs sold axis. So I'm going to double click on those numbers. It will open up an access pane, and I'm going to change the start and stop values. So we're going to start out with a minimum value, highlight those zeros and change it to read negative 10,000. And then hit enter. And it fixes those numbers for you. we're going to go ahead and close the format pane. And then when I click somewhere off the chart, now you can see our completed chart. Our next video is going to cover editing chart source data as well as category values. So we will be covering that and then some additional chart types.